Welcome to Caribbean Game Zone.
I had a lot of things going on for Sega. Sega was one of my favorite companies in the terms that they were willing to do different things. You know, Sega, the name comes from service and games. Put it together, Sega. The company, once they became incorporated with Sammy of Japan, they started making the pachinko devices, and that's pretty much where they're making most of their money in entertainment in Japan, doing the pachinko stuff and the machines and so on. The Dreamcast was the one time that Sega had an opportunity to really become number one, get the thing going. They're using the AM2 chipset that was the same as the arcade board that was presently used from '97 till about 2002 or 3, the lifespan of the Dreamcast. Once the Dreamcast was done and dead and they stopped supporting it in 2001 is when they made the announcement that they were done. They would no longer be making any games. I actually have the last game that they made, which is called Motorcycle. That was a game from these guys, from Heavy Metal. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It's called Geomatrix. This is the last game that ever came out for the Sega. Dreamcast. Yeah. That's a bad game, man. I'm surprised that they didn't, I don't know. I'm surprised they didn't make it again or make a remake or something. I'm just holding out to these Dreamcast games. Honestly, pound for pound, it was my favorite system of all time. It was the one system that came out with online gaming. You had your first online. It really brought the 2K games into the gaming sphere, which is something that you can see is still going on. 2K is still around. They took the most risks. It had the best, hands down, the best release games of all time. I think pound for pound, the release games that came out with it, September 9th, 1999. It was you had the sword fighting game. What's the name of that game, man? Namco. Soul Calibur. The first Soul Calibur came out on the Dreamcast. The same day it came out. Resident Evil Code X, Veronica, it came out the same day as the system. Jet Set Radio came out the same day. Panzer Dragoon came out the same day. All these different games came out with the system. It was just amazing, the same day it came out. And it was awesome. Pound for pound, it was the best. You had internet within a week or a month of release. You had internet was available. You could start playing online. Crazy Taxi was out there. It had some really. It was the only one for the consoles that was doing it online and reliable and good. And honestly, it was my last year of college. I was using it to to write my papers. I would go online, go on Yahoo, and type out my whole paper on that. And then I get to the computer lab at school and print off of that off my Dreamcast because I was too broke to have a computer. So.
This is new news to me. You said this thing was able to operate as a PC.
Well, not quite. You could go online, you could go to websites, you could even go to naughty sites, right? You could go to different, porn sites and whatnot, which you wouldn't want to, but you could. And it could do the GIFs, it could do pretty much anything you wanted to do. You had the keyboard, you had a mouse. You had keyboard and mouse support for Unreal Tournament, which came out with it. There's so much that the game system brought to the table that it just really, for me, it was people were yeah, I got a PlayStation 2. I'm like, Dreamcast, son, Dreamcast. You know what I'm saying? You could do online. It came with the modem. You didn't have to buy a modem separate, with the PS2 when it first came out. It had component HD from the start before anyone else. All sorts of things with the Dreamcast, man. Still pound for pound. I'm just sorry, Sega, the one time, And it's what's funny. The irony of it is, Sega made the system white. I was about to point to the system. I don't even have it out right now, but they made the system white. It was the first white Sega, and there was this belief or this little rumor amongst all the gamers, the real true hardcore guys. They're yo, no white system is ever lost. Look at it, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Now it's the time for Sega, because it's white. Because if you remember, what was the last white system before the Dreamcast? Off-white. The original PlayStation 1.
Oh, that's true.
Super Nintendo. Nintendo. Super Nintendo, PlayStation. Those are the three last winners. So Dreamcast is Sega for once. They're oh, let's let's not make a black system, let's make a white one, right? So everyone's like, oh, this is it, this is a chance, this is when they can do it. Another thing that really killed me about it, I was a really big fan of Peter Moore. I don't know if you guys know who Peter Moore is. He was the American head, he's from England, but he was the American head of Sega in the US. And he used to give really good, candid interviews to official Dreamcast magazine. And he used to talk a lot of good things and a lot of cool, like the things they do to support the Dreamcast. It was like, everything was in place, and I don't know how the consumers or the game players as a whole failed them. The price point was $199. The system had a heap of games, but everyone was just so dead set on getting a PlayStation 2. They stayed playing their PlayStation 1s, and I'd say, you know, it comes down to who has the best games. It doesn't matter about the power, it doesn't matter about the abilities or the quality or anything.